Shalom, YouTube. Jen from Jen and Steve Shenanigans. Alright, so my videos are obviously, now the weather is getting cooler, right? So there isn't a whole lot of homestead shenanigans going on. But I wanted to make this video because the Father has really been speaking to me. And when I say speaking to me, I just get like these overwhelming convictions and things that have been happening over the last few weeks. It's like confirmations. So I'm not hearing a voice. I'm just getting confirmations, both Steve and I. I just wanted to make this video and hopefully it reaches somebody that it's intended for. More so, if you're an addict of any kind, specifically drugs and alcohol, because that's where I come from as well, from a drug addiction. 2007 was the last time I done meth. And it's not that I'm ashamed of my story. I'm actually really proud of where I've came from and the path that the Father chose for my life and where I'm at today. So that being said, if I had a choice, would I go back and go do it all over again? Yes. Knowing that it would suck? Yes. Because I am who I am today because of that. And overcoming an addiction. So I have not always followed the path of God and the Father. I've always known He was there. And during that time, I didn't go to church. I've never read my Bible. I've as a kid, I don't even know any verses by heart. I do know one by heart. Well, not by heart. I don't know it by heart. I can't say that. But I can point out a verse that I know. And I'm super proud of myself about that. Anyways, but I always prayed. And it would always be prayed, for wants or whatever. And when, at the time, my prayers never got answered. But at the same time, when I look back, my prayers got answered in His way, not my way. So not to the T of what I was asking for, but I did get an answer to prayers. And so in 2007, I got my kids taken away, and I literally quit meth cold turkey. And yes, the, DHS and all that stuff, they made me go to a drug counselor, but I don't feel like, actually the majority of the time we weren't even talking about drug stuff. And I don't know, maybe it's because like a drug counselor is kind of like trying to help you figure out what your triggers are and stuff like that. I just had a really strong will to stop. And the power is in you if you want it to just stop. So if you're wanting to be done with your alcoholism or be done with your drug addiction, whatever it may be, you can stop. You have to want to. Now, the hardest part about it is you most definitely have to get away from those people who don't care if you're not on drugs or not. And you know who I'm talking about if you're in this position. They know that you're trying to stop, but then they still offer it to you anyways. They don't care. The majority of people that I hung out with during that time, I don't talk to anymore. I had to step away from them. I don't know if they're doing good now or not. Some of them, like I said, the majority of people I don't talk to, I've ran into some, and some are doing really good. They've overcome. But I don't know, because at that time in their life and my life, you had to have the alcohol or the drug in order to have a good time, right? So I was no fun to hang out with anyway, since I was sober. But I had to step away from that, because they weren't going to help me. So I would like to literally, physically, not just on videos, help people come back to God and put their faith in God to overcome their addictions. I would love to do that. I don't know what that looks like right now. Right now it looks like me talking to a phone and putting a video on YouTube. At some point, sorry, I just got done sneezing right before I started posting this video, and then I blew my nose, and it just... Anyways, great production, right, y'all? I mean, you're getting real world stuff here. No fancy, nothing fancy. So, Steve and I, the way we came into following this way was the beginning of COVID. And so, you know, you're seeing supply of toilet paper, you know, not being in stores, and paper towels and blah, blah, blah. And we've always kind of sort of had extras of certain things or bought bulk, but nothing overboard. And we're not overboard. We do it very mindfully. But anyway, so he was watching prepper videos. And this one guy who really, we kind of sort of magnetized to, I guess you could say, Bear Independent. Find him on YouTube. He's awesome. I mean, I'm not like following anybody or whatever, but he speaks real, and we like that. And he has no special effects in his videos. It's literally talking to somebody. Like, it's... Anyways, go check him out. So we started watching him for prepper videos, and then he would pray at the end of every video for quite a while. And he doesn't pray anymore. So it's like through him, the Father was speaking to him to Steve. And the reason why I say to Steve is I've always believed that there was a God. Steve was mad at him for the longest time for situations in his life. I'll let him tell you his story at some point when he's ready. But, so he brought him back through Bear, through Brother Bear. And so I'd like, so we follow the whole Bible from the beginning to the end. It says this at the beginning, that's what we do. We do as Jesus, Yeshua would have done, right? People wear these bracelets, like I said in the last video. What would Jesus do? Jesus observed Passover. Jesus observed Sukkot. The New Testament wasn't wrote until after Jesus passed away and was resurrected. Okay? And he was resurrected and died for... He died and was resurrected for you. Who were the people that were Jesus's disciples? They were the people that nobody... They were poor. They were... Matthew, from my understanding, he was a tax collector. And tax collectors in those days, they were like the traitors, right? Because they were the Jewish people hired by the government, by the Romans, to collect money for the Romans from the Jews, right? And they had to be the bad guys, and they were their own people, so they were kind of like traitors. So from my understanding, that's who Matthew was. Mary Magdalene, not sure of her full story, right? But she was in a part of the, excuse me, she was in a part of the town that the Sadducees and teachers wouldn't go. They wouldn't go talk to these people. They didn't even want them to touch their clothes. Like, they were just so high and mighty. Da-da-da-da. Well, I thought they were godly people, right? Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. Sadducees and Pharisees. That's what I was thinking. But they were like considered teachers, right? Because they were the only ones that were supposed to do any teaching. But in the Bible, I don't see anywhere where the Father said that you had to be a teacher or a Pharisee or of a high rank to teach. The only thing that you had to do is if you were a priest, so like a Sadducee or Pharisee or something like that, then you were the one to do the sacrifices. So Jesus picked the 12 disciples, fishermen, Mary Magdalene, and in that time too, to have a woman do certain things, because from my understanding, only the boys went to school to learn, right? So then they taught their wives the Bible and stuff like this. The scriptures at that time was the Old Testament, okay? So women, for Jesus to pick Mary as a disciple wasn't heard of. So no wonder why the Pharisees and Sadducees and the teachers didn't like him, right? Because he's doing all these things that you're not supposed to do. But it doesn't say anywhere. So the first 5 books in the Bible is what they call Torah. And that just means like law or the commands from Yah, from God, right? So we do what Jesus would have done. And it seems like a lot of people have these ideas of how to help you, the drug addict, the alcoholic. But really, what resources are there? I'm sorry, I don't believe that NA and AA and in-house rehabilitation or inpatient rehabilitation, outpatient rehabilitation, it all works if you're willing to do it, right? I mean, and even with what me and Steve are wanting to do is help you and help people like this. You have to be willing. You can't be forced to do anything. But at the same time, what resources are out there for you to help you along? Because from my experience, I was broke as hell. And I needed, I was in the midst of dealing with DHS as well. And here I am needing to get a house or needing to get a roof over my head. I was when all this went down, I had got evicted, and we were going to move to Colorado anyways. And so I was just staying with my dad, and all this went down the day I was supposed to move. and ended up not being able to get my kids back. And it's a long story, a very long story. But anyways, I needed to get my own place in order to get my kids back. And I'm panicking during that time, right? So I'm like, well, I can't be here for 3-4 months trying to save up money. I need to get my place now. And I didn't have a driver's license because of all the decisions that I made along the way, right? I owed like $1,200 to get my driver's license back, and I didn't have an apartment or a place or a roof over my head, and I needed to do all this, and I was being demanded to do all this from the state, but then I needed to also take drug tests randomly when they called me. So I needed a job that would allow me to do that at whim, right? So yeah. So I guess my question for you is, if you're in this position, or you know someone who's in this position that needs some type of service, what are some services that you think people need, along the lines with being like a ministry, and not like a ministry to where I'm a pastor or anything. Like, I want to be like sister Jen and Steve be brother Steve, and not in a just like a type of ministry that has services to actually help people to overcome. So like, obviously getting in the word and doing Bible studies, but also what services that don't make you feel like a piece of crap, because and I didn't even have my kids, right? So therefore I couldn't apply for food stamps. But this is what DHS wanted. I did get my kids back. My youngest is 20. But they didn't get their dad back. And that's another reason. He was never able to overcome. And I believe he tried. And I believe he was trying at the time that he passed away. His body just couldn't take anymore. And I'm talking like all the drugs that he did, the popping the pills. And he sounded really good on the last voicemail that he left my daughter, saying that he was trying to get better. Of course, we're still waiting on the toxicology reports, but I don't believe he died of an overdose. But he didn't get the actual help that he was needing. Because also when you're a drug addict too, you're so broke, you feel that that's the only way to make money, right? I mean, you can make decent money sometimes, unless you're a high-end drug dealer. I mean, you're not going to make very much money, but when you need it, in a time when you need it, it's enough, and it's quick cash, right? So that kind of keeps you there. Thankfully, I was able to get away from people who didn't care about my sobriety. And I had a great support system. And that's the thing too, not everybody has a great support system, right? Because you've burned bridges. You've burned your support system. And so now they're waiting for you to prove yourself that you're going to do good, right? And you can do good for a while, and then all of a sudden something happens and you fall off the deep end, right? You have a setback. So it's hard to prove yourself. But if you put your faith in God and you take that step and you have the willpower, you can do it. You can overcome. And you can have a successful life. And does that mean that you're rich and you can have all this money and all that? No. But successful is not drowning in your sorrows, right? Whatever the reason was that you started drugs or started drinking in the first place, to drown out whatever, right? That's the biggest thing. And when you're in a position like that, like if you're homeless or if you're a young kid or whatever's going on in your home life, like, we want to give this support system. So, any ideas would be for us to just start. Eventually, I'd like to get some type of building, because certain services that we'd like to give or thinking about that might be good, maybe we're going to need a building for that. Don't know how that's going to happen. Don't know when it's going to happen. It's all in the Father's time, right? Like, we have no clue. All we know is that we want to do something in the name of the Father and spread his word. We want to be like, to the best of our broken ability, right? Because Jesus was righteous. He was perfect. We're not going to be that way. That's why we had to have Jesus, because we had to have Jesus so that we have our flaws and we have our sins that we can be forgiven for, so that we can go through Jesus to God. So we're never going to be up to par with Jesus, ever. But I want to do the best to my broken ability to be like Jesus. I want to follow him. And that means doing certain things in the Bible that he probably did. And that's up to you. You can do however you come to the Lord. The Lord's going to come to you, right? He comes to you where you are. So anyways, yeah, if you've got any ideas, or if you are, know someone who is in this position, or if you are in this position, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because there's probably going to be more videos like this coming out. Yeah. Thanks, y'all. Don't forget to ring the bell, too, if you subscribe. I don't know if I said that or not. Shalom, y'all. Have a fabulous Thursday, and a great week, and an awesome Shabbat.